I can't
Justin,
get
you're
enough
killing me
of
every
this
time.
intro. I'm sorry. Shit slaps.
Well, episode 2, how we feeling?
Good.
Good. Happy to be here.
I was about to say, don't answer at once.
For those at home that can't see it, Justin keeps dancing during these intros. That's what we're laughing at every time.
Yeah.
I don't know how you picked the song, Walt, but like A1 choice. Love it.
Yeah, it was Erica. She kind of picked a few, and then she played a bunch, and I picked this one twice, so we knew it was this one.
Nice.
All right. Well, I guess we'll get right to it. I guess we'll start with the PLL. Playoff weekend. It was Atlas, Whip Snakes, Chaos, and Archers, right?
Yes. Yep.
Well, we might as well start here because why not?
You poor thing.
Atlas and Whip Snakes. It pretty much went the way I thought it'd go, honestly, with my luck.
So nothing having to do with analysis of the game, just your luck.
Yeah, I was full-fledged, not willing. Like, I had to force myself to watch that game because I knew it.
Yeah.
And honestly, what killed me about it was the fact that it kind of went how the Atlas season went. Like, the first half was just crazy offense, couldn't be stopped. It was like surefire championship, no problem. And then the second half of the season was just slow, rusty, just what the heck are we doing here? Having two defensive pulls on offense at times. And the first half, obviously they scored, what was it, like 6 goals. Second half, they scored 2.
Yeah.
I think it was like 2. And it's just there was times too towards the end of the game where they had a guy behind the net and he was just sitting there dancing and running out of time. And it's like, what are we doing here? You gotta go to the net at some point.
Yeah, no urgency.
So
Yeah.
I think one thing that I picked out, Walt, and we saw this in the games in Fairfield that we went to. They, Jeff T has set the record by a mile for points this season, and time again, they don't just give him the ball, right?
No.
So there were so many times during the game that we went to where they're coming in off a dead ball and they start with somebody else having the ball and then they don't get T the ball. Like, he is a fantastic feeder and he's a goal scorer too. Like, he has both in his bag. And when the chips are down, you want to give it to your best guy, right? And they weren't doing it. I don't know if he was like hurt and didn't want the ball, but
especially a guy that can pass so well, you definitely want to give him the ball because he can score, but also he gives you that ability to do the behind the back passes and those just crazy plays that a lot of people can't make. So I was kind of expecting him to step up and and the announcer said it. I'm not sure which one of them it was, but they said this was his MVP moment. It literally was going to be his MVP moment. Like, you're going to score, you're going to put it away, and you're going to be MVP. And credit to the Whip Snakes because they kind of started iffy this season. I'm pretty sure the Whip Snakes was the Atlas's first game, and Atlas scored like, what was it, like 20 points or something like that?
And then I know that it was opening weekend or homecoming weekend, I should say, for Atlas. And then they played Cannons the next game, and they didn't miss a beat. They kept
Jeff T had like 30 points just that weekend, I think.
Something crazy like that. Whip Snakes, I gotta admit, like, at the beginning of the season, I kind of looked at the roster. Zed Williams, still good, older. Matt Rambo, same thing. They got Chanichuk. There's one other guy I'm blanking on, but a little bit of an older roster. They still have some of the guys that they had from like their first 2 championships early on in the PLO. But I was kind of expecting them to kind of kaput and might have been like a rebuilding year, and nope, not the case. And I think it really goes along with TJ Malone. Like, he just really carried that team at times when, kind of what we wanted or expected from Jeff T. When the chips are down, the ball's going to Malone, and he's figuring something out, whether he dumps it off to Rambo or Zed Williams or someone else, or just going to the net himself. Right. He had that MVP moment, I guess, or really rookie of the year moment for him.
Yeah, he did.
But you got to give them credit for pulling out that game. Like they just played a great second half, and that overtime was just so nerve wracking. I was gonna say I can't imagine what it'd be like for you, because I can actually, with the Cannons, and I think the Water Dogs in the championship series. They had a high scoring game, and then it went into overtime where it went back and forth, and like each team got 3 crazy saves, and then Matt Cavanaugh eventually wins it. But man, that's a really tough game to lose, and so more credit.
Yeah. And a topic I want to bring up really quick, I could be wrong on it. Did you feel like, because I'm talking about this overtime in particular, I feel like it was more sloppiness than the two teams actually being good.
Yeah. Totally agree.
And I feel like most of this PLL season has been more sloppy than the past. I feel like last year, everyone looked so crisp all the time. Everyone looked like constant professionals all the time. And then this year, there just seems like, what I was saying before with the Atlas, a lot of like dancing around, sitting there, not driving for the net or to get that pass, forcing, a slide or whatever. So that overtime, it was... Usually I'd probably be pretty nerved up. I was just angry. I was just so angry because they're in that position, but also at one point they time was running out, or the shot clock was running out, and the dude was literally just standing there, not doing anything. And off ball movement is important. No one was moving off ball. And it was just kind of like, all right, we've given up. This is it. We've given up.
We'll see what
happens. They looked down at their jersey, said, "Oh, we're from New York. We got it." And then just blew it.
I think
exactly what happened.
Part of it too, I would say, is probably it's the end of a long season, right? And these guys, they're at it every weekend. They have 2 games some weekends too, and they're probably just exhausted at that point, especially at the end of a playoff game too. And I
sure.
kind of related to hockey here for Nick too. At the end of these like long overtime games, whether it's like multiple overtime games or whatever, sometimes it's just like whoever gets more tired, they let in a cheapy goal, and that's it. Yeah. Right? Would you agree with that, Nick?
Not to mention,
yeah. Sometimes it's really ugly, but it sounds like the cycling wasn't going on there at the end. But sometimes a ugly bounce is just, that's how it ends, man. It's not always easy.
No. And honestly, I think I'd be fine with it if it weren't for what I know their potential is, because we saw at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And it was probably 10 times better than any other team. Mm-hmm. If you looked at the first 4 weeks of the season, no one could sit there and tell me that Atlas weren't winning the championship.
Yeah. I mean, and especially because they got.
I was just gonna say, I'm trying to think of one team, maybe, and it didn't become apparent until maybe the middle of the season that it might have been the Cannons, because they started picking up very well. Mm-hmm. But I don't know where Atlas went wrong. I mean, like I said, Baptiste ended up getting hurt, but that didn't matter because it was sudden death anyway, so there was no more face-offs.
Right.
But it just seemed like the luck was running out there. Baptiste went down. They weren't getting the bounces they needed. It was just kind of fell apart on them, and it is what it is, I guess. Whipsnakes played good, so can't take it away from them.
Yeah, I think with the PLL too, it's just like the gap in talent is just so small between teams, right? So you have the Water Dogs last year. They make the championship. That they're really close to winning it, and they won it the year prior. Mm-hmm. They pretty much come back with basically the same team, new coach, but same team, and now they have the first pick in the draft. I think they had a bunch of 1-goal games with it. It's just one bad bounce here or there, and then before you know it, you're the worst team in the league, right? And we know that they're
and that
not necessarily, but
right. And that margin for error you're talking about is so crazy too, because there's only 10 teams, right? 8 teams.
8 teams. Yeah.
8 teams. So they're whoever's in the PLO is literally the best of the best.
Exactly. Right.
Like
And
you're not going to get too much better. You might find some in the indoor league, but that's a totally different sport if you ask me.
No, I agree. Yeah. And
yeah,
you can see with Atlas too, not this year, last year, they were second worst in the league, right? They didn't, pretty sure they didn't make the playoffs. And then before you know it, they're the number one seed by a wide margin, right? So it's just a year by year thing.
They literally went from 2 wins to just lighting it up the first few games.
Right. And it's not like
it could change in the time.
Yeah, it's not like football where you have like several rebuilding years, or hockey, like where they gradually have to get guys in and out, and okay, we don't have much expectations this year, and then it's just going on like it's a toss up. You could have a team like Atlas who the year prior is terrible, and then the next year they're great. That's what I like about the league, because it's so tough to predict. And I know we have Archers, who was in it last year, and Whipsnakes, who's perennially like in the finals. But it's still kind of unpredictable.
Yeah, you're right. And speaking of the Archers, they look good.
Yeah,
did they even have I was gonna say they didn't even have Schreiber.
Yeah.
And what was it, 9-1? 8-1?
9-1. Yeah, he almost had a shutout. He had a shutout. I think maybe into the fourth quarter. Brett Dobson there.
I think it was 10-1 even. It just gets worse.
Which is weird, because if you looked at the stats, like turnovers, face-offs, ground balls, and all that, everything was pretty even. All the numbers were very even. So I don't know where they went wrong. And for Blaze to go out, the goalie to go out like that, I'm kind of surprised, because he's usually on it.
I think he still played decent. Yeah, it's okay. He gave up 4 goals to Cannons the week before, so you're not going to have a game like that all the time. Like that's unheard of, right?
No.
But really, I think it's just the offense that let up down. This is a team that is like hell bent on, we're going to win with defense. We're going to be tougher than you, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And if it gets to 9 or 10 goals that you have to score over, they're not doing it. They don't have the offensive firepower. They don't have, outside of like Josh Byrne, they don't really have too much else besides that. But to score 1 goal in a playoff game too, it doesn't make me feel great about the Cannons losing to them. But that's a tough way to go out like that.
Yeah, it's especially rough. But I gotta say though, Archers are like oddly that quiet team that's always like, their players are always consistent. Like O'Keefe, Schreiber, and all them, they're always. I don't think there's ever like a down time for them.
No, not necessarily.
Like we could talk about Teat, and Teat goes quiet, but I haven't really seen O'Keefe and Schreiber really go silent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think at least for me, I'm not necessarily a huge Grant Ament guy. Like he's shifty, he's quick and everything. Sometimes I feel like his hype was a little higher than what he produces. Past couple years a little bit better, but like when he was a rookie, pretty sure it was the COVID year. When he was a rookie, they were, watch out for this guy. He's like Brennan O'Neill level of hype, or like compared to this year. I mean, but and he's he didn't really. I mean, again, granted, COVID year, whatever. He's gotten better since then, but they just have guys that play well together, and they have that continuity. They have had the same guys for a decent amount of time. And it's not shocking that they're in the finals here.
Yeah.
What do you got for the championship?
Go ahead, Nick.
No, I was just going to say, consistency and chemistry, that goes a long way. I mean, that just elevates the ceiling of your team every time. You can go far even without star players. I mean, in the NHL, we saw the Kraken do it a couple of years ago. They have no star players, and they went on a nice playoff run. And I mean, it's just how it works, That's a good point that they've had those that cohesion there for a long time. I think that really makes a big difference.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point, Nick. With hockey and lacrosse, I feel like they're so similar in that like chemistry, cohesion type thing. Because obviously, like it matters in football and everything. But there are times when you're on offense, like just say in lacrosse, and okay, I know what my teammate is. He's going to come and set a pick, like whether it's a set play or not, right? You have a sense of like what their tendencies are, and like if you play more together, you just work better together, right? Like you figure out what works best for each player, and you're able to really meld together and become like a offensive unit, and not just a bunch of guys doing. There are certain teams where they just do one-on-ones and like, okay, my turn, okay, then your turn, but like Archer's case, they got a lot of guys that have played together, and they kind of get a sense of what each player does.
I also think it helps if like the lines stay the same. So like a midi line or like line one in hockey, like the more the three of them go out on the field together, the more they're just going to learn each other's game and the do's and don'ts, and it's going to gel a lot better than honestly probably having like an all-star player. That'll probably work out better. So
yeah,
who do you have in the championship?
I keep going back to Archers. Just I mean, without Tom Schreiber, it's like kind of tough. But since like they get the middle of the season, man, Whip Snakes were turning on, and I feel like I'm gonna have to go Whips.
I'm gonna go Whips too, just because I can't go against getting hot at the right time.
That's exactly it. Like I think in our two teams' case, the Atlas and the Cannons, like Atlas
they got cold.
Yes, the Atlas played great in the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Lighten up the world. Cannons, more towards the middle of the season, they started to play pretty good. Then towards the end, they both kind of kaput, right?
Yeah.
But Whips are just getting hot at the right time, and credit to the Archers and being back in the championship for second straight year there. But I think that they got some great guys that are playing really well right now. TJ Malone probably at the top there, and then veterans there that have been on the stage before. Rambo, Zed Williams, they've been there, they've done that, right? So I think it's going to be a close game, but I'm going to lean more Whips. And then also, as mentioned, Brendan Krebs to the goalie for Whips. And I love hearing the story about why he wears the number 0, and it's because he had no scholarships coming out of high school. I don't even think he had a start in high school. Yeah, no, seriously. Really? And I don't think he had a start in high school, and then he still got where he ended up playing. But look where he is right now. Like he wins that amazing. Crazy. Yeah. He wins that amazing overtime game with some stellar saves. So yeah, I feel like they got the most momentum going into the championship.
I have a feeling it's going to come down to coaching too. Like I know when the Whip Snakes were facing Atlas, obviously when you're in that overtime situation, you want the ball in the best player's hands. So it's going to come down to, I feel like in a close game, who is going to draw something up that can get the best player the ball for him to win the game. I really think that's what it's going to come down to, because I think they're both really close with each other. I think, we wouldn't call them the hottest teams all year because obviously that was Atlas, but they're just two grinded out teams that play well.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Nick, I know you don't follow completely. You're just getting into it. Who you got?
See, I'm going to take the Snakes, right? Just because Maryland rep the DMV.
Okay, all right. I like the reasoning. That's good.
The home of lax, like we got so much lax around here. It's crazy. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of high school games. I'm familiar with it like that. Not the PLL as much, but I mean, I'll take the Whip Snakes for that, for sure. To me, it's going to come down to, I think, having played sports, an aspect that some fans undervalue sometimes is the emotional aspect. Who wants it more? Who's playing for their teammates more? If your head's in it more, then you're going to play better for sure. If you're kind of just showing up and, everyone, they're professionals. They're all in it. You know what I'm saying? But there's definitely going to be some difference of emotional commitment. Even though they're both professional teams in the championship, one of them is going to want it more. The question will be who does.
Yeah, and I think you can come for both teams. For Archers, they're playing for Tom Schreiber because he's their top guy, former MVP, and they're going to try to win it for him. For Whips, it's more like the why not us team. right? Where they were counted out earlier in the season by me, right, and a bunch of other people, and then they're just like, you know what, we're still here. We can still win this thing. But yeah, we're in agreement. Let's fire up the crab cakes.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
I guess so. All right. Well, with that, we can move on to college football.
Mm-hmm.
We can start at Texas and Michigan.
I would love to start here.
It went about as to the T of what we thought it was going to happen, right? Texas kind of dominates. I don't think Michigan scored until like the last minute of the first half.
Yeah, I forget exactly, but I know they kind of put on a garbage time touchdown too. But
yeah, they had 3 turnovers that didn't help.
Yeah,
Texas didn't turn the ball over at all. Quinn Ewers looked really good, actually.
Former Buckeye Quinn Ewers, repping the OHIO. Love it. But yeah, he he's, I mean, still early in the season, but he might be like a leading Heisman candidate too, right? He's got already a big win under his belt. And that's not an easy place to play, right? Granted, let's give Michigan, I guess, some credit that it wasn't a complete blowout, because new players, new quarterback. One, like I think we said last week, we didn't expect Davis Warren to start. New coach, so it's early in the season. It's a really tough spot to have that kind of game early on in the season. I think that they can round into shape a little bit better than what they showed out, but it was tough to watch.
Well, we knew their offense was going to be the issue.
Yeah.
If their offense were able to put up some points, it probably would have been a much closer game.
Mm-hmm.
The defense, I think, held on as long as they could, but just at some point, your offense has got to do something.
Yeah, and we know that's their strength. That their strength is the defense, right? And that's going to win them games. But if I could just like describe how it felt to watch each offense, like Texas, they were firing on all cylinders, and it felt like, if you're at the gym and you're just getting through each exercise you're doing, you're feeling great, like it's the best workout you've had. And then watching Michigan is like the day after, when you try to do that same workout, but you're super sore and everything's just moving slow, like
everything's locked up, can't lift anything.
They just had such a tough time passing the ball, and clearly, I mean, again, first time starter in Davis Warren, but like they did not trust him to throw the ball, right? And their running game, which is their bread and butter, really wasn't doing much either, right?
And Edwards finished with like 50 yards or something like that.
Yeah, and
their whole team rushed for, it was like 3.7 yards a carry or something like that.
Right, and then I think it's a mostly new offensive line too. So still that's tough to roll in against the number 3 team in the country, right? But I noticed too with the middle part of the third quarter, where the game was still attainable for Michigan, they were not throwing the ball. Like that is the time when, okay, like I get the run is what we do, but like we're starting to lose some time here. We got to start.
I think it's flat out because they can't.
Yeah, they don't have that talent on the outside, and they don't trust their quarterback yet.
No, and he already threw 2 interceptions. They had a third turnover somewhere in that. So, yeah, no chances of him turning it up at the end of the game when you need it, slim to none. Yeah. So I think they try to just give it to their best player, hoping for a break, and it just didn't work.
Right.
Which, that drops them to number 17 now. So I don't know what number 10 were they before this week?
I believe so. Yep.
I think they were number 10, so that drops them down 7 spots, which is pretty significant. But the saving grace is the expanded playoff,
right,
for them.
Yeah, and they do have some bigger games left in the schedule. Obviously, Ohio State. I'm pretty sure they still play Penn State,
right?
Too. So I mean, they could still end up making the playoff. It's definitely not out of reach. If they start losing 1 or 2 other games, then that's another another discussion.
Texas, are they going to win the SEC in their first year?
I mean, it's looking pretty good. I'd still pick Georgia over anyone. I think they're obviously just loaded, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd give them a puncher's chance. Now that last year was Texas's really first really good year. Obviously, they made the playoff. They
Right.
got another year under
Their first year back.
We're back.
Yeah.
But another year of experience for Quinn Ewers, and I think that they're better set up this year than they were last year. I know they lost some talent in the draft, but I think they can probably give Georgia a run for their money. Again, still picking the dogs.
Yeah, I think it's either Georgia, Alabama's, or Texas, in my opinion, for the SEC.
Yeah, and then there's always the outside puncher's chance of Ole Miss or one of those teams.
Yeah,
Everyone's hyped about them too.
I don't know. I feel like the three teams I said just have so much, and I grant it's a new coach at Alabama, but it's still all of Saban's players.
Right.
They still have all of Saban's knowledge and all that other stuff. So I still think they'll definitely be in contention for it. I think Texas will be close, though. Yeah. Next game. This is the fun one. I couldn't wait to talk about this one. Notre Dame and Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Man, holy! I don't even know what to say about it other than there's no shot Notre Dame gets in the playoffs. There should be no shot. I mean, you have a loss to an opponent that has never won against a top 25 school in their history. Literally, they were I don't remember if it was 0-11 or 0-14, something around there, all time against top 25 opponents. And you're an independent. You have no conference championship to stand on. And where do you go from here after that? If you're trying to tell me Riley Leonard couldn't get it together against Northern Illinois, I don't know. I know they have to play USC at the end of the season. That's probably a loss.
The way they've at USC too.
Yeah, and the way they've looked, they have to play two of the service academies, which is not going to be easy for them because they're going to take
Louisville too.
They have Louisville, and they also have you could say what you want about Florida State, but I don't think they've looked much better than Florida State has. Yeah, they beat Texas A&M. Cool. And that's great. That's the crazy part too about Notre Dame is you can have these conversations every year about Notre Dame not winning the big game, right? They finally get it in a hostile environment. They finally get it, and the very next week they blow it.
Yeah. I think that's something that, is worth keeping an eye on in terms of just teams period, not just Notre Dame necessarily, where you have this big time game, right? And you win it. It's a great win. And then the next week you're playing, NIU, and it's okay, we beat Texas A&M. We don't need to try. We already beat Texas A&M at Texas A&M, right?
Right.
And then it's a letdown, right? So I think programs like a Notre Dame, where each year they're in discussion for the playoff and everything, but they just haven't proven the ability to consistently win those big games, right?
Yeah,
where
right.
you're just going one after the other. Obviously not every team is like that. Not everyone's like a Georgia, where they just win basically everything.
Right.
But still, it's just the same old Notre Dame. They get a new quarterback. Marcus Freeman's got another year coaching. I do like him as a coach, but it's just the same old stuff with Notre Dame, and I don't see it changing anytime soon either.
There's no proof of it changing. That's the problem. Yeah. I thought there'd be more improvement, and there was because they beat Texas A&M, but then you can't follow that up with a loss to a school that has never beat a top 25 school before. You can't do it. I mean, and I think in those games too, for the quote unquote lesser opponent, I think time of possession is a big deal. And Northern Illinois, they had the ball for I think 35 minutes.
30 minutes and 49 seconds. I got up the stats.
Yeah. So they had it quite a while there, and they forced 2 turnovers. And they just seemed like they wanted it a whole lot more than Notre Dame. Yeah. I couldn't even tell you because Notre Dame is not like they're. It's not like they're not talented. It's not like they don't have really good players. They send guys to the NFL every year. They always have a good offensive line. Granted, I think they are a little bit younger on the offensive line this year than previous ones.
They kept bringing that up in the Texas A&M game a lot, where there's just a bunch of like guys with. I forgot the exact stat, but it was like combined starts was like 10 or maybe even less than that of the whole offensive line that game.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah. That's insane. So that will get better, I feel. I think the biggest question is just quarterback. Like, are you going to get a guy that can take you over and also not turn the ball over? Because we saw the Sam, what was his name last year?
Hartman.
We saw Sam Hartman, that experiment, and it didn't go well. Mm-hmm. Sam Hartman went from Wake Forest to the RPO craziness, and he probably wanted to go to a pro-style offense to show scouts that he could do it, and it completely backfired on him. And I just don't know how many times you're going to go to the transfer portal to get these guys and then just not have it work out. Might be time for a new direction for their quarterback. I don't know if Riley Leonard is a senior or whatever he is. Yeah, I'm not sure. But it's something's got to give with them because there's no way they can take these losses as an independent and then expect to get into the playoffs. That's ridiculous. I don't even know how you argue that.
Yeah, it's been past time for them to win a conference. Like enough of being the high and mighty. Like, oh, we don't need to be in a conference. We've never been in a no. Like,
which is crazy to me because I honestly thought it would be Army the last one to be an independent. So Notre Dame, congratulations, you're with UMass and UConn.
Hey, what you got against UConn? Come on now. I'm just kidding.
I mean, don't like UConn. you're not with. That's not good company.
No, it's not.
It's not good company.
And I saw too that UConn, like I think it was the Big 12. Like there were conversations with them, of them joining the Big 12, and they stopped like the talks right now. I don't know why, but it's like, you're so bad you can't even be in our conference. We don't want you.
See? Yeah. No, there's no way that UConn could do that. They just paid thousands of dollars to get out of the American.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't know what's next for Notre Dame. I don't even know if they know, to be honest. Do I think they get it together? No, I think they take 2 or 3 more losses this year.
I can see it.
Easily.
Yeah.
Next game was another crazy one. Bowling Green and Penn State. Yeah. I mean, Penn State almost blew it too.
Yeah. And we went to the Ohio State Penn State game last year, and leading up to this season, and later on last season too, all this hype for Drew Alar, like, oh, look out for him, he's pretty good, and not that he played bad against Bowling Green, but if I remember correctly, like he didn't really like spread the ball around too much, and he's
It's almost a Penn State quarterback.
Yes.
I think he had like 13 completions.
Yeah, and I was watching like 3 different games at the same time, so I could be wrong on this. But I'm pretty sure he only, like at one point, was hitting only 2 guys. Like he wasn't trying to get to other people too,
so
right?
I have it right here, actually. Okay. So he had 204 total passing yards. His tight end, or T. Warren, I'm not sure if he's tight end or what, he had 146 yards of that.
Yeah. That's tough.
So that's literally one guy just doing all the work. That's not going to cut it when they play Michigan or Ohio State or any of those kind of teams. There's no shot.
Yeah. And it's not like they don't have some talent. Like they have a transfer from Ohio State, Julian Fleming, who was, I think, the top rated wide receiver of his high school class. So, that's something. I'm not sure maybe getting the ball to him. He's decent. Yeah. Let me also point something out. Let's just remind the listener, amateurs here. All right. We're saying like, oh yeah, I think I remember this. That's the point. We're amateurs. Okay. We're working on it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're, with the Penn State, I wasn't shocked that they pulled it up. I was like, oh, it was getting a little hairy towards the end. They forced a few turnovers on Bowling Green that sealed the deal.
Yeah, 2 turnovers they got.
Yeah, they gotta be better than that. Especially I think this is a big year for James Franklin too, where
he's so tricky though.
Yeah,
it's so tricky with him because he wins every other game. And the problem is, like, okay, who are you going to get that will beat Ohio State, will beat Michigan? Like, it's easy to say, okay, this is it for a guy. But if he's bringing you to a bowl game every year and you're just losing to Ohio State and Michigan, I mean, that's like a hard sell of who do you bring in?
Yeah, that's true. I think
tough.
That they still do want results, right? And they haven't had a playoff berth yet. And, ironically enough, with the expansion, I think that if they do make it, I'm not saying he's on a hot seat necessarily, right? But if they make it, I think that'll be a big boost for him. We're like, oh, look, he made the playoff. That's a step in the right direction.
I do think it will help him
anyway.
Yeah, I think it will help him if they do get to the playoffs, at least somehow, some way. But like I said, I don't see how you can him so quick. I get, like everybody, I get those teams. It's either national championship or bust, but you have to look at who you're playing. Like, think about it. Even outside your conference, you have to contend with Georgia, Alabama, Texas. There's so many talented teams, so much firepower on those teams. Are you going to rush to get rid of a coach, bring somebody in, and then you go from, let's say, 10-2 every year in a bowl game to 3-9?
Yeah, it's a risky thing.
It's risky, and I hate to say it, but I think the playing field with Ohio State is at least leveled out a little bit now, because I think Ryan Day has some proving to do himself.
Which is also crazy because he has
I know
6 or 7 losses in his career.
And I personally think there's more pressure on him than Franklin.
Yeah, no, there is, because they James, they have that expectation that they'll be good, right? But Ohio State, it's championship or bust basically every year, right?
Right.
And it's not like they haven't been there. They haven't been to a championship. They haven't been to the playoff. But it's just like little things here and there that they can't just get right?
No.
I have more confidence in him this year, and I can give him credit too. He called the play since he started being the coach there.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, he gave it to Chip Kelly, who I didn't know, but he has been with for a very long time. Ryan Day was the quarterback at University of New Hampshire when he was in college. Chip Kelly was a coach there. They were together
in the NFL, right?
In the NFL, they were with the Niners and I believe the Eagles as well.
Yeah, the Eagles.
And now they're back together again, right? So, and it's great for Chip Kelly. You can just call the plays and not have to worry about too much recruiting or the head coach duties. But anyway, enough about Ohio State. I don't want to make it about my team because they're doing pretty good right now.
Well, we're going to get into our teams later.
Yeah, they look nice.
I get next game I know we talked about was Tennessee and NC State.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee impressive too. They blew them out. It was like 51-10.
Jeez.
I wasn't expecting that. I think we all said NC State had a pretty decent shot at winning. And it ended up being just a Tennessee show. And now all of a sudden you're like, well, now Tennessee's in the SEC mix.
Right. There's always those fringe, like I said, Ole Miss before. There's always those fringe teams like, oh, what about them? And then it always ends up being Alabama or Georgia.
It never fails. It's literally like, oh, this team might have it, and then it's Alabama and Georgia every year. Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking maybe with the new mix-ins of Texas and Oklahoma and all that, I think you might get, and Saban leaving, I think you might get a few more slipping in there. I think the real threat now is Georgia.
Yeah, still, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to be beat with how stacked they are just across the board.
No. And then Oklahoma State and Arkansas. Did you see that game?
I did.
That game was nuts.
Yeah. I didn't like a couple of things that Arkansas did at the end of the game. I think they kind of just managed some things. but I mean, they were right there at the end, which is pretty good for the road team too.
Yeah, I think, and I'm surprised the coach for Oklahoma State didn't almost blow it for them, because he was going ballistic on the sideline at the end of the game. One thing, I don't remember the situation, but he was right on. He should have been angry with it, but at some point you got to be like, all right, let me calm down so I don't give my team a penalty.
Mhm.
But then there was another one where they got a false start and he's arguing with the ref why the clock isn't running.
Yeah.
Dude, it's a penalty. The clock doesn't run after a penalty. Like Mike Gundy is his name.
Yeah,
I don't
correct
know
me if I'm wrong, but this is over a decade ago when he has that press conference where he's like, "I'm a man, I'm 40."
Yes, that is him. That is him.
Yeah, and he hasn't cooled off since then.
He has not cooled off since.
Yeah,
he was screaming, yelling, and I'm like, dude, it's the call is the call. Just you got to move on, because you're gonna give yourself a penalty, and you're gonna have to explain yourself because you're a grown man. But
yeah, that's actually one thing that I don't know if I necessarily understand about coaching, like just berating the refs like after a call. Like, does that make much of a difference? I don't know. Like I get you can be you're upset
it can
in a moment, but like
it can
you're bullying them into making better calls for you. I don't know. I don't get it.
Have you've definitely seen a game where there's been like a makeup call where the ref has something like a bad call, the coach gets into him, and then the other side probably shouldn't be a penalty, but they throw the flag anyways. I think there are makeup calls, and I think it's okay because the refs are human beings, right? It's not like they're robots out there.
Yeah.
And so I do think and coaches do it all the time. Like if you see a coach walking on the sideline with the ref, it's usually probably there's them saying like, "Hey, watch number 72. He's holding my guy every play."
Mhm.
And, the coaches are putting stuff in the refs' heads to be like, "Hey, make sure you watch this." Because it happens every game. And I don't know what announcer said it recently, but someone said there could be holding on every single play.
Yeah.
And it's probably true. But when you get into, really holding, like let's say you're grabbing the back of the jersey and you're tackling the guy to the ground, sometimes that stuff gets missed. And as a coach, you have to point it out. If you don't point it out, are you trying to win?
Yeah. Okay. With like what I can think of is maybe with the Chiefs and Baltimore game, Andy Reid's just like, oh, watch the illegal formation on the Ravens there.
Yeah.
They got that guard's a little bit. Oh my God, that was such a nuisance. Just repeatedly just throw the flag.
I know.
Whatever. Anyway, Nick, to get you involved a little bit, bring in a little bit of hockey. Coaches, I'm sure they chirp the refs all the time. Do you think that it's beneficial?
See, I was going to comment and say that, to be honest, I think it depends on the ref. There's some refs that if you bully them and make them feel bad, because I mean, they're human, like Walt said, but if you make them known how you feel about calls, they'll be like, I feel a little bad. I want to make this up because I made a mistake. There's other refs, because they're human beings and, we have all sorts of personalities. They're going to be like indignant about it. They'll be like, oh, if you're going to treat me this way, I'm just going to keep doing this because now you've pissed me off. The refs are professionals, but they're human beings more than anything else. And they have emotions too. And I think the way you treat them is not going to always have the same outcome for every ref. It's totally dependent on who they are as a person.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I correct me if I'm wrong too, Nick. With hockey, I feel like it doesn't have as much of an impact, at least like penalty call wise, as say football, because I feel like with football there might be more penalty like plays, and I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit tougher.
I think for hockey, it's a lot easier to get like a breakaway shorthanded than it is to come back from like a 15-yard penalty when now it's like 4th and 15, let's say, or 4th and 30. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Because I think we touched on
the
that
flags
last
in
week.
football. are a lot more punishing than the 2-minute penalties.
Yeah, because like we said last week, chances are you're not scoring every single power play you have. There's a lot of power plays where you don't get a goal, but there's a lot of drives in football where you take a holding penalty. That's the drive. You have to end up punting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah. Especially in certain situations where, like, let's say maybe it's 4th and 2 and you may be able to go for it. Then there's a false start and now it's 4th and 17 or however many yards it is. Like, it's that little of a difference that now you have to punt.
Yeah.
Instead of going for it, now you got to punt. So, yeah.
It isn't as
that's what I think on it.
Like, firm and like, okay, this is really gonna F you up for this drive. Not as much in hockey. Like, okay, we're gonna take a guy off the ice. Good luck scoring.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it also feels like in hockey sometimes the players, they police themselves a lot more. Like, I mean, they'll just start like beating up each other or whatever. I mean, that being said, in football, I saw the Chiefs and Ravens game, and there was some policing going on by the players. So
yeah, we will get into that for sure. But that's actually a good point, Nick, too, about hockey is they're kind of allowed to, if they need to, do a quick 30-second scrap and then they move on. Like, they sit for 5 minutes, but the team isn't really penalized. So that actually is a very good point.
Right.
They can handle themselves, though, I think. Hockey players have much more class. I feel like football players will just, like you've seen, Myles Garrett style, just try to murder someone with a helmet.
Yeah, and hockey, it's just a hey, watch out there, pal. Oh, you watch out there, buddy. And then they go to the bench.
Yeah. And it's like a casual, like, hey, you want to fight just for the sake of fighting?
Yeah.
In the NFL, it's like, nah, I'm going to rip your head off now.
I'm going to rip
So I think it's a lot more controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, not as much CTE going around in the NHL.
Thankfully.
Another game that almost got away from a top 25 team was Kansas State and Tulane. Tulane almost beat them. I'm not sure exactly what the score was.
34-27.
Yeah, I think it ended on a quarterback. The Tulane quarterback was dropping back. He got sacked. It was a strip sack, and Kansas State picked it up or ran for a touchdown or not. Either way, they were close, and again, a turnover kills a team.
Yeah. I have like kind of an eye on Kansas State, mainly because Will Howard, the Ohio State quarterback, he was from there.
Yep.
And Avery Johnson, who is the quarterback now at K-State. I heard on, I forgot what podcast it was, but there were like rumblings that like Will Howard is going to lose his job anyway because this Avery Johnson's kid is pretty good.
Yep.
And at least looking at his stats for this game, 15-23, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns, respectable.
That's like game manager type numbers.
Yeah, it's fine. Not lighting the world on fire. Yeah, they kind of just barely escaped that one for sure.
Yeah. And then the last game I have on here is Iowa State. We were just talking about Iowa having the potential, and then they dropped to Iowa State, and it's just like Iowa, we were all like, hey, you're finally scoring touchdowns. You could finally win some games, and you blow it to Iowa State by 1 point. I think they were winning almost the whole game.
Yeah.
And they managed to blow it.
Man. Like, Cade McNamara didn't throw for over 100 yards, 2 picks. It's just so tough to watch, man. Like, how do they not get anybody?
What can you do?
You might as well just put the kicker at quarterback.
It's
like
it's at the point where if they added one guy to that offense, they would just automatically score more points.
Yeah. Like
just one guy.
I'm looking at their leading running back. I don't know his first name. It's K Johnson. Again, amateurs. We're barely figuring out what we're doing. 25 carries, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's pretty good. And then who even knows how good the wide receivers are? Because they don't get the ball. They can't hit them.
No.
So they could be good, but
maybe Iowa should just switch the triple option.
Maybe. That might do something.
Just run the heck out of the ball, keep time of possession.
Yeah.
I mean,
with Cade McNamara, how much more do we have to see? I get it. He went to Michigan. Like that, if you're going there, you should be a good quarterback, I guess. But like, you don't have anybody else on the roster that you just want to like. All right, we're gonna try this guy out. You know what I mean? Like just to see.
Everybody's obsessed with the portal.
Function. Yeah.
Everybody's obsessed with the portal. Yeah. Who knows when you could have the next Johnny Manziel? Like, what if Texas A&M was like, we're going to hold Johnny and put in Bob, and then Johnny football never becomes a thing?
Bob.
Yeah. Just, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know what you got until you throw it out there, and might be time to throw something else out there already. And that was that just game one for them?
Week 2, yeah. It's just,
yeah. So week 3, real quick before we move on to the NFL. What do we got for week 3? I also have before we move on to week 3.
Yeah.
Real quick. How did Ohio State do?
They killed it. Oh my God. They were running up the score. Oh my God, they played Western Michigan. That's who it is. Just to recap some things, they held Western Michigan to under 100 yards of offense for the whole game, not just a half, the whole game. That's crazy. Will Howard, 292 yards, 1 touchdown. Probably could have had a couple other ones. Judkins, over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Traven Henderson, 2 touchdowns. And then, dude, Jeremiah Smith, again, dude is bananas. Oh, my God. He's 5 receptions, 119 yards, and a touchdown, 1 long touchdown. And what I just found out today, he is the cousin of Geno Smith.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. How about that? So football runs in that family. Yeah. So business as usual against these kind of lower teams for Ohio State, just running up the score. I was very much more pleased with the
But that's what you want to see, though.
That's
you just want to see that crispness, and that's what you're looking to get out of those kind of games.
They won 56-0. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if they scored over 40 last year with Kyle McCord. So that's a step in the right direction. I know McCord's kind of lighting it up at Syracuse right now.
Right.
But still, they're definitely on track with the new quarterback, with the new weapons, and looking pretty good.
That's good. We'll move to Army really quick. It was their first game in the American, and quite honestly, this game should have been a shutout if it weren't for a Army fumble, and then at the end of the half, Florida Atlantic scored. Army ran for another 405 yards. They look like they're pretty much back to 2017, 2018, where it was 300 to 400 yards every game. The difference is they have this one guy, Noah Short, and he's got speed that is not that Army's just not used to having. And I think they're just realizing what they can do with that. Because like in the past, it's always been more of like a power fullback quarterback thing. Now they got all these kind of perimeter runs and stuff like that. For example, like Army's big thing is you want to have like 3rd and short. If you get into 3rd and long, it's pretty much forget it. Just get ready for a punt. They converted like 3 or 4 3rd and longs just because they jet sweep to this guy and he was just see you later. And actually that fumble, the sea snake that you sent me on Twitter, he was actually the guy who forced the fumble, and that man is a savage on the football field. He hits hard and he is so fast sideline to sideline. But the game went pretty good. Army scored the first 2 drives, 1 rushing, and then the other one was a pass. Shockingly, that was their one completion of the day. Literally one.
Good one to have it on.
The quarterback ended 1 of 4, 44 yards and touchdown. That's how that went for him. And then they finished it off they were driving. I think Army's coach kind of knew they needed to put it away and not just kick a field goal. So they decided to run a fake field goal, and the holder took it for a touchdown. So That's 2 weeks in a row where Army special teams that come up with big plays, which is also not a very Army thing. And right now, as I'm looking at the standings, Army is already first in the conference. It's Army and Navy, 1 and 2.
Whoa, 2 newcomers. Wait, no, was Navy there before?
Navy was there before.
Okay.
Navy was there since 2014, I believe.
Okay, 1 newcomer.
So they've been there for a while.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so really good start into the American for them. I'd say right now, sky's the limit. I think they're back. Seems like they're blocking a little bit better. So, yeah, it went well for them too. On to the NFL. I can't lie. I didn't want to get here.
Oh, yeah.
I really did not want to get here. I'm going to have to refrain myself from going on
okay. Is this a Giants-related thing? Got it. Okay.
Massive, absolute tangent here because I want to just rip apart the Giants.
Yeah.
I got to say, do you remember when we went to the Atlas Cannons game? I was like, I'm done going to New York Pro Sports.
Yeah.
I'm done with it.
You were there. I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay.
So
this is the nail in the coffin, huh?
Yeah, we took especially with MetLife, but I'll get into that. But we took my father-in-law to the game because he's a Vikings fan, and it's like the first time the Vikings have been on the East Coast in forever, or at least in the New York area, New Jersey area. So for his birthday, we got him the tickets, and I thought the teams are pretty even. So I was like, yeah, this is probably good. Let me tell you what a dumpster fire the Giants are. And I'm only starting out with this game because this is going to be probably the game we talk about the longest for so many reasons. One, because I think they are the unhot topic in the NFL right now with a lot of issues. So I kid you not, we're sitting there. Daniel Jones throws his first interception. I kid you not, half the stadium at the bottom just walks out. I kid you not. It was the most insane thing I've ever seen at a football game in my life. He throws the first interception of the season, just one, and literally you just see the crowd just up the stairs out. And I'm just like, wow, that's like crazy.
That's
and
the
as
level
the game
of tolerance for Daniel Jones these days.
Yeah, and so the game's going on, and like the defense is actually playing fairly well. You know, they're getting stops, they're forcing punts, they force turnovers, you know, the whole shebang. And you think they're going to get back into the game, and every time so Daniel Jones will have one nice throw, and he'll follow it up with 2 missed wide open guys, and then he'll stand there in the pocket until he gets sacked. And that was literally the entire game. Though what I just said there was every single drive.
Why doesn't he run? Isn't he fast?
He runs, but it seems like he's hesitant now for whatever reason. I don't know if it's the leg or whatever, but
true.
He did run a few times that bailed him out. But I backed him a lot, honestly, throughout the years. I don't think he was in the most fair position. But this game made it very clear that he just doesn't have it.
Yeah.
He does not have the eye. Like he missed a few, like he even look at some wide open guys at times. And it's just like at some point as an NFL quarterback, you would think you'd have that instinct of, oh, well, if all these guys are covered and this guy's double covered, then someone's got to be open, right? To the check down or whatever. He doesn't have it. He threw that crazy interception when they were backed up on that screen. Like you didn't see the giant linebacker just diving in front of you to intercept the ball. Like, are you kidding me?
Holy not.
Yeah, like maybe throwing a pump fake. Maybe, or maybe not throw it, you know? There was just too many mistakes. And on that second interception, the stadium just cleared. And the skull chant start.
Oh God!
And it started getting embarrassing because
not gonna lie, I do like the skull chants. I think that's pretty sick, but
it's
not
cool,
in your home stadium for you.
No, when that started, like the people that were in my section at least were just like, what are we doing? So the team is getting booed. Jones, every time he does something, he's getting booed. And I think we're just at a point now where what's going to give? Is Dabble going to bench Jones? Because, I saw some guy on Twitter or X or whatever say how, oh, it's only game one. We've had 6 years of Daniel Jones. There has been no improvement.
Yeah.
What do you mean
regression?
It's game one? It's not game one. It's 6 years into the league, and he hasn't done one thing to improve. The only thing he improved is his contract.
Yeah,
that's the only thing he improved.
That he's thrown more pick sixes than touchdowns since he signed his contract.
Yeah, I think that's the thing Nick sent that we were going to talk about, because, like, how bad do you have to be to do that? How bad? Yeah. And what more do people need to see after the post-game press conference? I shouldn't have watched it. I did. They were talking about benching Jones, and Dabble's like, "Oh no, I have no plans on that." What?
Yeah,
that's not on your mind. You want to know what's on our mind? Fired. That's what's on all of our minds.
They're probably thinking, give him a few weeks, see what happens. But I do expect them to bench him at some point, whether it's for your backup is Drew Lock, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, whether it's Drew Lock or Tommy Cutlets.
Granted, Drew Lock isn't like, we're not expecting him to be the savior, but he brings energy at least. Mm-hmm. Daniel Jones is literally like a robot. He walks out, he throws a pick. Oh, got to do better. Can't do that. Yeah, no.
Well, this is kind of how I felt last year with Mac Jones, where like I was a big defender. I don't think that he was put in the best position to succeed. Did not put weapons around him. Gave him a defensive coordinator for an offensive coordinator. It was really dumb. But by halfway last year, I was like, this dude's cooked. Like, he has no confidence. He is hesitant. He's not the same as he was a rookie year. Right. And I'm not I wasn't the type of person to be like, zappy fever, like a lot of other.
Right.
But at some point I was like, hell with it.
Try it.
And they did. And they won a few games with Zappy, and
I could have more respect in trying it than not doing anything about it.
Right. And he kind of had more energy than Mac did, and the guys seemed to rally around him a little bit. You tried him out. You saw, okay, he's not the answer either. We'll go for it in the draft. Right. And just trying what you can, just so you're not.
And you know what really made me angry too? I watched some players after the game, they have their locker room interviews or whatever. Dexter Lawrence is probably my favorite player on the team. However, he's talking about, like, the reporter asked him, like, hey, did you hear the crowd today? And he's just like, yeah, I don't really respect it though. You don't respect it? Dude, we're paying hundreds of dollars to watch you play football, and you just lose and stink every single year. So I get it. Your feelings are hurt, but at the same time, do better, have a better response. I mean, they asked one of the offensive linemen, and his response was, yeah, we deserve it. They expect us to win, and they expect us to perform better. It's on us to do that. Thank you.
They're not on the same page.
I can respect that. No, not at all. And it's just like, well, if you got some guys doing that and some guys saying, like, yeah, we need to get this together. Honestly, the guys that are saying we need to get it together, I think you keep. Anybody else you get rid of.
And
because you're never going to fix it.
Yeah, I don't think it helped either that they have the Hard Knocks, the offseason Hard Knocks.
Yeah, no.
And because, like, losing Barkley and seeing, like, having the public see how that all went down, it's not a good look.
And we'll just use that as a segue to get into our next game, which is the Eagles and Packers. Mm-hmm. And Saquon just did what every Giant fan expected, and it's just, he's going to go there and he's going to be great. Mm-hmm. He's going to light it up, and it's going to seem like hits his rookie year. And sure enough, over 100 yards rushing, a passing touchdown, a rushing. it's just like, what the heck? We can't win at all.
And the thing was always like, oh, he's got to get an offensive line in front of him, and this, that, and the other thing, and
Yeah,
kind of has that in Philly. And I again, one game, let's see it
Right.
over a full season. Let's see him not get hurt.
I agree,
Good
but
start.
you already seen way more from that one game than the last 2-3 years with the Giants.
Yeah.
And it's because he had stupid Daniel Jones, who, well, honestly, I do feel bad for bashing a lot of players at times and how they get stomped on. And real quick, we'll go back to this. The Giants have a setup where the team and the players go into the parking lot or whatever, and it's set up where there's fans just outside, and Daniel Jones is just getting heckled going to his car. Like, okay, maybe take it a little easy. I think he knows he had a rough day. However, then I think about, oh wait, no, this guy's fine with taking $140 million from the Giants, robbing them, and then playing like that. It's bad. And then you let your best player go to a division rival and he plays well. I think Giant fans have very low tolerance right now for anything that's going on. And that was very clear by the booing and leaving the stadium and the skull chants happening. I think if Saquon were to land anywhere else outside of the division, I don't think it's as bad. But because it's the Eagles and we're going to have to see him twice a year, it's not good news.
No, bad look for the whole organization. And maybe it's the wake up call they need. I mean, I don't think Daboll's a bad coach. He had a good first year. It's just they haven't really built the team too well.
They haven't built the team well.
The quarterback.
The only thing I want to see from Daboll is he willing to make a change? Is he willing to do what he has to do, which is benching Daniel Jones, even to make a point to him? Because Daniel Jones clearly hasn't learned the easy, non-harsh way of, nope, we're sticking behind him. He'll get it. We'll surround him with better players. It's not working. It's just not working. But did you watch Packers Eagles, Justin?
I did. Yep. I think they both played really good. Field wasn't the best, as we saw with everyone slipping and sliding.
Yeah.
I think I texted you with Saquon's first play. He's just completely blew out a tire and hit the ground quick. And I was like, oh, this is what you hope for. And then he goes out and has 3 touchdowns.
The soccer fields are not made for massive guys like that getting into dirt and running like that. They're not made for it.
That's not a good look for the NFL.
No.
But I think that both teams played pretty good. It's tough for the Packers. Probably, we'll see if they're out without Jordan Love for a little bit there, because he only played a good second half of the season last year. So I still want to see more from him.
Yeah,
but
didn't he get hurt at the end there?
He did. Yeah, I think it was one of the, if not the last play, one of the last plays.
He got rolled up on, right? I honestly, I have to admit, I didn't watch it because I knew what was going to happen with Saquon. So I opted out of that game.
Saving yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot what type of knee injury it was for him. And I'll check on that just to see what the expectation is, if he's going to be out or not. But Josh Jacobs, I forgot he was with Green Bay. He had a pretty good first game with them. And then they can really spread the ball around too. Christian Watson only had a touchdown and a couple catches. But Dobbs got a few catches. I'm not out on the Packers. I mean, if Love is out for a bit, then I think their backup, one of them's Malik Willis, which not the best.
Yeah.
So that'll be tough for him, especially in a decent division with some.
That would stink coming off of a season he had last year.
Yeah, I know.
That would really be not a great time for Packers fans.
Yeah,
but
it looks like he's not going to go on IR, but they might have to start Malik Willis, who again they didn't get until a little bit through the preseason, so he might not be fully up to speed. And when he played for the Titans, he was kind of trash. So it's not like they had a lot around him in Tennessee. I mean, they got some things. They got Derrick Henry and everything at the time, but yeah, that's a tough blow to have on your first game. I know personally from Brady have blowing out his ACL in the first game of the season after their perfect season. But I figured I would get ahead of that one if you were going to make a comment about the one loss.
I wasn't. I was just. I was literally just going to. I was literally just going to. I didn't even think of that.
If you
that happened to them too.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't. Okay, wait a minute. Before we move on really quick, I don't even remember if it was on here last week or I was ranting to Erica about. I hate how Giants fans just rave on those 2 Super Bowls because
me too.
I always want more. I'm always like, dude, that was how many years ago? I want one now. I don't want to keep talking about ones that happened a decade ago.
Yeah, and I can't stand the argument for like Eli Manning, like, oh, he has 2 Super Bowls. He had 2 playoff runs, and that's it. That's completely it. Like he might have made the playoffs 1 or 2 other times, but he didn't do anything else besides that.
And that's an argument I'll agree with you. And I'll say, does he get into the Hall of Fame because of his Super Bowls? Yes. However, Giants fans hold him, and you should have heard the ovation he got, which he deserves because he won the 2 Super Bowls. But at the same time, he literally finished his career, not all of his fault, especially at the end there, but he finished his career at 500, and the amount of interceptions he's thrown is just crazy.
You guys didn't even like it when you had him, like Giants fans.
No,
so the ones that I like, you rave him and rave about him and prop him up after the Super Bowls, and then in between, this guy, he's throwing so many interceptions, he's not good.
All right. Before you say that, though, remember what Patriot fans did to Tom Brady when he went to Tampa Bay.
Either you defected or you're like, That was more something.
Yeah.
Like I gotta praise the guy he gave me. Yeah, at least I was watching while they won 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah, but I can agree with that Eli Manning argument, and I do think Giants hold him there just because of those Super Bowls. But at the same time, he had a very mid career, very mid outside of the 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Like if you looked up mid in the dictionary, that's Eli Manning
with the stupid Eli Manning face that he made.
And you know what's crazy? It's literally like Daniel Jones is a reincarnation of him.
Yeah, except he just stands there with the blank
face. And at least Eli can read a defense. I don't. Anyways, I'm going to digress on Daniel Jones now. We can move on. Well, more news. Good news for, I guess, one team in the NFC East, and more bad news for me. Actually, probably good news. This Dak Prescott contract. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
You're not even the first Giants fan to like act like this is a good thing for the Giants.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Dude, 4 years, $240 million, $231 million guaranteed. For a man who has not won a playoff game.
I don't blink twice at any of these contracts anymore. If Nick's got the cha-ching sign going, right?
He's rich.
Yeah. And to bring Nick in really quick too, the hockey contracts compared to NFL contracts, don't even get me started on NBA contracts. Oh my God. They are ridiculous. Like, what do you, any idea what the highest salary is for a player in the NHL?
Oh, I would say the ceiling might be like 15 million right now.
That's what I was going to say too. Like it's nowhere near beyond 20. There's no chance. There's zero.
Not even close.
No, in fact, it's make 50 in the NFL.
Yeah, the salary cap for the entire team right now is like 84 million, and I mean that's crazy what Prescott's making over there for the Cowgirls or Cowboys.
That was intentional. But it's the next quarterback in line. Trevor Lawrence, he got a big contract. Tua Tagovailoa, he got a contract just because like they played some good games. They haven't had any playoff success, but that's kind of how this rolls, you know.
I get if you want to pay your guy, but 240 mil when you have other players that are probably going to need to get paid at some point so you can actually have a team is insane.
But these quarterbacks, they're not going to take anything less because they all think they're the best guy, right? And Dak has been in MVP conversations, but obviously no playoff success to back it up. But that's just if your guy can bring you to the playoffs, he's going to get a contract. That's just
right.
and it's going to be the biggest one ever. That's just how it is. There's no guy, and Brady is probably one of the few guys who have done this in the past. You know, taking the pay cuts to get people around him. I think I might have heard Mahomes was like doing that too. So you know, he's kind of following in that path.
Yeah, at least restructure somehow.
Yeah, and you can't really even blame him either. Because like with the guys who are getting like the biggest contracts, they only have X amount of years to play, and they're just trying to make them.
It's funny you said that because if Patrick Mahomes got this deal, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah,
that makes total sense.
That's the thing too, because there's not many. Well, obviously, there's no other Patrick Mahomes the way that he plays, but like, there's you know, Mahomes. I don't know, maybe Josh Allen in there, maybe Lamar, but they're probably like a tier below. And then you got a few of those guys, maybe Joe Burrow's in there, and then it's just a drop off, and it's the rest of the league, right? So it's tough to have a guy. And if you look back at like the 2010s, like how many quarterbacks won Super Bowls? It was Brady, Peyton Manning, Rodgers got one, and Roethlisberger. So it's not like they're in abundance. It's not like it's very common to have like over 5 quarterbacks in the league at the same time that have a Super Bowl. Like that's I mean at least recently. Right. So it's a little bit tougher. And then if you're successful, here's back of the Brinks truck, right?
Right.
So
Nick, I heard you watched a lot of NFL this week. What you have any thoughts or any games that stuck out to you?
Ooh, there were a few. The Lions game was a pretty crazy ending. I really thought the Lions were going to blow that. But they came back in overtime, which is kind of nice. I don't mind rooting for the Lions because they're one of those teams that, as a fan of a suffering team in hockey, I like to see suffering teams do well in all sports. So you know what? Let the Lions have their win there. The Ravens-Chiefs game, I mean, of course the Chiefs win. I don't really want them to win, but Blake Likely, I think his name was, rookie, he was looking really great.
Yeah.
Lamar looked great as always, but at the very end, dude, Likely was great.
Yeah. He's not even their best tight end either.
Lamar did miss a few guys though. I think
I got to admit, on that last drive, didn't think they were going to get down to scoring range. They were nickel and diming him the whole way down, not really running the ball well. I did not think he was going to be able to get it down there in quick enough time.
Yeah, and the Ravens are another team too, where it's just like, what do they got to do to figure this out? Because they drop another game to Mahomes and the Chiefs, and like we were talking about, you know, you mentioned Isaiah Likely. After the game, he's like, if that's the best shot they got, good luck in the playoffs. Well, if that's not their best shot and they still beat you, why are you talking?
It's only week one.
Facts.
That's crazy to me to be like, oh, you know, if that's your best shot, good luck in the playoffs. Okay, if that wasn't their best shot, which it clearly wasn't, and you still lost, how is that an argument for you? That's an argument against you. And I didn't watch the entire game, but I think there was a moment where some receivers were getting visibly pretty irritated with Lamar because he was missing guys open. And Lamar's another one in that situation where he's too far into his career to be missing those throws. Mahomes doesn't miss those throws. Mahomes will throw that behind his back and he'll hit them.
Yeah, and I just like I was doing a lot of watching QB mechanics over the weekend with like Lamar and Aaron Rodgers too, which I had some thoughts on that. But Lamar just doesn't step into the ball. Like it's all just flick of the wrist, flick of the arm, and he's got the arm strength, fine. Like he can fling it, but it's just it doesn't have the same crispness and consistency that like Mahomes does. And Mahomes is the best player in the league, right?
Yeah.
But still, it's just not on the same
mostly the crazy athletic quarterbacks that seem like they're like we can go back to Cam, and he threw his like whole shoulders into it and his whole upper body. I don't know, like if it was working, I'd say don't fix it, but he's clearly missing guys wide open. So I don't know how else. Like he's been in the league for how long now? I thought it'd be fixed by now, because I can't say I've watched every Ravens game and can confidently say that Lamar has missed open guys frequently, which I don't think he has. And maybe this is a new problem, and maybe it's miscommunication, right? Maybe the receiver's in the wrong spot, or there's no way of saying for sure like, okay, this is 100% Lamar Jackson. Because a receiver maybe should have been 5 yards to the right, or maybe he should have came back a little bit further. It should have been a back shoulder. You don't really know those things. So by the looks of it, I'd say it was Lamar, but I'm not sure. And again, if you're going to make those mistakes against the Chiefs, it's not going to work out in your favor.
Mm-hmm. No, especially when the Chiefs are breaking out a new weapon in Xavier Worthy, and just first touch of the game, he scores a touchdown. Like, it's so just depressing that they, last year was the year to get him, and they still won it because they just did not have the same weapons, and now they're just loading up again. It's like pick the Chiefs until told otherwise by them, right?
Yeah, and then the Jets too. We could talk about quick is they finally get Aaron Rodgers back. And then their defense just completely just evaporates. They get dominated by a backup running back.
Yeah. I mean, they kept it close in the first part of the game, but I think as the offense kept sputtering, then the defense is having to be. It's kind of bringing it back to Michigan and Texas, where the offense keeps sputtering, 3 and outs, or maybe they get 1 first down, and then the defense right back in the field. Right? They don't have enough rest. And then over time they break down. I think that's might be what happens.
I think the Jets are close.
Yeah.
I think they need to get Rodgers a little bit more help, because I could be wrong, but I think it's not a situation anymore where Rodgers goes and helps the team. I think it's Rodgers is there, but he needs help now, because I think at his age, I don't think he has it to go out there and just start whipping it to nobodies and score touchdowns.
Like Alan Lazard.
Yeah, right. I think he's at that age where, they got to get some talent around him, get maybe the offensive line a little bit more consistent. And
they did try to beef it up. I think it is.
Yeah, and find out what's going on with the defense, because if I'm not mistaken, the Jets defense was pretty good last year.
They're very good. Yes.
Yeah. So I'd figure that out quick.
Yeah. I mean, they're playing on the road at the defending NFC champs. So, probably not as bad as it could have been. Right.
Tough start.
But at least watching Rodgers and throwing, I was really trying to see how he was planting and everything with that Achilles injury. And I know he jumps around a little bit sometimes, and the off platform throws, but it just seemed a little bit more I don't know. I don't know if he quite trusts it yet. Again, first padded game for him playing since the injury. But it just didn't seem like he fully trusted his repair quite yet, and planting that.
Either that, or he's it's not as much trusting it as when you get one of those injuries, it's like, okay, when's the next major one?
Yeah.
Like any one of these plays could be the next major one. It's like every time he was getting sacked or hit, it's kind of just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And we'll be able to get a little bit of insight into his psyche. I don't know if you guys saw that he's going to have a Netflix documentary in December.
That thing's gonna blow up.
We can see him high on ayahuasca or whatever other drugs he takes, and see how it helps him.
He's gonna watch the whales. Yo, have you seen that? It's mostly on the Pat McAfee show. They poke fun at him because he goes to watch the whales migrate or whatever somewhere, and it's a big thing for him every year. So he's got some weird, like, niche things that he likes to do, and it's just like, all right,
more power to him, I guess.
Yeah. We'll go through a few games for week 2. We'll go. What is this? Thursday night? It's Bills and Dolphins. Obviously, division game, probably a toss-up. A lot going on in the Dolphins locker room right now with Tyreek Hill and that crazy situation.
Yeah, I feel like at least the way that Mike McDaniel reacted to that whole situation, I think that would be a bonding thing for them.
I gotta say, with my sister being a state trooper, I'm gonna refrain from commenting on this and that Tyreek situation because it's probably not going to be agreeable to a whole lot of people. So I'm just going to refrain, and I'm going to pick the Bills to win the game.
Okay. It's in Miami?
It is in Miami.
The Bills did look pretty good against the Cardinals, even though they almost blew it at the end. I'll go Miami.
Okay.
Ooh. I don't know. I think despite Tyreek having his incident before the game, he still lit it up.
Mm-hmm.
Who you got?
Nick, who you got?
Give me Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen's going to get it done.
He's just one of those guys I feel like you're just guaranteed for 10 wins a year no matter what's around him. But this is the year to test it because he doesn't have the same weapons he's had.
Yeah.
Yep. Saints Cowboys.
I think that Saints game was a fluke with the Panthers because the Panthers are so bad.
The Panthers are the Giants' only hope of not being the worst team in the league.
Correct. Yep. I totally agree.
So for that reason, I'm going to pick – no, I'm not. I'm picking the Saints. I can't.
What? Really?
I can't pick the Cowboys. No way.
No, the Cowboys all the way. Like, I'm not rooting for them, of course. I don't like Cowboys.
Yeah.
But I think that they're obviously the better team.
Yeah, realistically, I think the Cowboys take it. I hate to say that, but I don't think the Saints are that good. I mean, beating up Carolina is just like punching a teddy bear. Like,
big
who the heck did the Cowboys play last week? Am I brain farting? So yeah, it's not that much better.
True.
Bucks and Lions.
Sneaky good game. Sneaky good.
This is going to be a good game because Baker played really well last week.
Yeah, I tell you, when he's pretty underrated. I mean,
when he's on, he is on.
I think they still got a good team. Like Mike Evans is still just he might be like the most underrated. Or
Baker is finally in the right situation.
Yeah, I agree. But I'll still go Lions on that one.
I am going to ride the Lions until they lose their first game.
Agreed.
Nick?
Yeah, that's valid. I think I'm going to go Lions too. I think that OT win really is going to give them a boost here.
Yeah, and it was good for them to first face adversity in their first game too. Having the comeback on them and then having to win in overtime. They're already battle tested already, so that's pretty good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Next game would be Colts Packers. This is a tough one.
If
it's at Lambeau.
Okay, look, I think it's still like a TBD considering Love. It looks like he's not going to play. In that case, I will go Colts, which I was impressed with them last week and how well they hung in with the Texans. The perennial pick to dethrone the Chiefs because they're pretty good to give that. But I think Richardson played all right. There was definitely some sloppy stuff.
Right.
But he showed that athleticism for sure.
Agreed. I'm going to go Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Colts here.
All right, next. There's not that many games in the NFL, so we'll just pick all of them. The heck with it. Jets, Titans. This one's an easy one for me.
Jets.
Yeah, Jets.
Jets.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Wait. Actually, let's back up real quick. You guys seen
yeah.
the Will Levis meme?
Yes, the drop to his knees. You know what that made me think of, Justin?
Yeah.
When I beat you in ping pong that one time.
Oh no, we're not bringing that up. For the listener, this was many years ago, but I'm not gonna say I was a ping pong like
you were pretty good,
but I was whooping him. All right,
Yeah.
like my wall couldn't even hold candle to how good I
No.
was. And then there was one time he beat me, and I flung my ping pong racket, paddle, whatever you want to call it, across my yard, dropped to my knees, and just I collapsed. I was like, this is.
And our
gonna be my
friend Sean
athletic
just
career.
happened to catch it accidentally on slow motion on his phone.
Chef's kiss.
Just
Amazing video.
a perfect
Even though
video.
I hate watching it because it makes me feel bad about my athletic ability.
Anyways, next game is also pretty easy. 49ers and Vikings.
Oh, Niners. Yeah.
Niners.
Those like 2 picks at least.
Yeah. It ain't the Giants this week, boss.
Yep.
Seahawks, Patriots.
Oh, it's a tough one for me. I was very impressed with how the Pats played. I wasn't totally shocked that they won because it's well documented the Bengals aren't great in the first couple of the season. I think Burrow is maybe it was Zach Taylor's 1-9.
Burrow is also coming off of an injury too.
A huge injury, right? But defense came up and showed out for the Patriots. I think Christian Gonzalez, their second-year corner, pretty much put the clamps on Jamar Chase. I mean, Jamar Chase hasn't practiced as much because he's got the whole contract thing. But still, that's a great performance from a young guy on a really proven receiver. And Brissett didn't lose in the game.
Yeah.
He did everything.
Right now, that's what they need from him.
That's exactly what they need, right? Don't make these stupid throws. He did miss a couple open guys. Like didn't see him.
Just hang on, let the defense work until you get Drake May in there ready.
Hand it off to Mondre. That's all you got to do because he showed out too. And the offensive line actually held up decent. That was probably the biggest concern.
It seems like the coaching switch kind of gave him a little bit of juice back.
Yeah, they love Mayo. They're really excited to play for him. And
I'll start. I think the Patriots win with defense.
Let's go. Okay, I'll pick them too.
Yeah,
I think the Patriots get him on defense. Geno Smith. How long is this guy going to hold on to a starting job? He played really well that 1 year, but that was about it.
Yeah.
And for that 1 year, it seems like everyone has forgotten how many bad years he's had for some strange reason.
Yeah. Gino, I love your cousin Jeremiah for the Buckeyes, but you can go suck eggs this weekend.
I got the Patriots winning with defense. Jesus. The Giants and Washington.
Washington, move on.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
I got Washington.
Yeah.
Chargers, Panthers.
Chargers.
Yeah, Chargers. Yeah. Another.
I think the Chargers aren't very talented. Like they lost a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And I hate to admit it, but Harbaugh's a really good coach.
Yeah.
I know he cheated at Michigan, but that's beside the point. His guys played for him, and despite their lack of talent, I think they still just show up and can win some games.
Agreed. They have a lack of talent, but the Panthers are very much lacking.
Lacking talent.
Browns, Jags. I think I got Jaguars.
Jags.
At the Jags?
Yeah. I don't trust Deshaun Watson.
He's so bummed, man.
Yeah, he's not good.
Because they almost beat Miami, but they blew it at the end, obviously. But
here's one that could be a little bit interesting. Raiders, Ravens.
It's got to be the Ravens, right?
I mean, you're quick to say the Ravens, but I know it's a new year. But the Raiders did beat Patrick Mahomes with a third-string quarterback and no offense.
That's fair, but with divisional games, I don't really put too much weight into them sometimes. Like, there were plenty of times when Brady was at his height where they lost to a terrible Dolphins team, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes when you have that familiarity with teams, I kind of just throw those games out the window sometimes.
I am going to go Ravens in a close one, and I think Lamar's legs make the difference.
Yep. I would go with
'Cause
that too.
I think Max Crosby will have he's a really good player. I can't think of too many other people on that defense that would be able to keep up with Lamar. So I think I'm going to go with the Ravens for that reason.
I'm hoping that the Ravens really give the ball to Derrick Henry more too, because I don't think they involved him enough. I did see a quote today that they didn't bring him in to run the ball 30 times, which you shouldn't want to. He's capable of it, but it should be a little bit
not at that age either.
No, and it should be more even, if anything, between like him and Lamar, because he's just such a valuable player that you don't.
Lamar had 16 carries the last game, so you probably want to be at like either dead even or like 20-15.
Yeah,
probably in favor of Henry.
I don't even think that you want Lamar doing that many times, because that's a lot of.
I don't think. But the thing is, you take away Lamar with that, do they win as many games as they do?
No, probably not. But it's just the injury risk, because he had some years where he's not the healthiest. And
well, he put on weight last year, and then he dropped it again this year. So we'll see how that works for him. Yeah. Moving on, Rams Cardinals.
Sneaky good game. I'll go Rams. I think that them being on the road.
It's not close for me. It's not close for me. It's the Rams. If you're asking me Matthew Stafford or Kyler Murray, I'm picking Matthew Stafford 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, but I think the Rams are a little beat up. They don't have Nakua. Obviously, Cooper Kupp's still there, so that's gonna.
This next one is a pretty easy one for me too. Steelers Broncos.
Yeah, Bo Nix looked like booty. Steelers will win with their defense will win it.
I'm going with the Steelers just based off the fact they beat a team last week just kicking field goals.
Yeah,
that was impressive.
That's insane.
I want to give him a little bit. Well, I don't know if he'll start this week. Wilson might be back, but I'm feeling like we're trending towards like let's finish with this Justin Fields experiment. Like I love the guy for how he performed at Ohio State, but I just don't think he has it. I'm not gonna lie. Like he just makes silly mistakes.
Yeah, he played all right last week. He didn't do anything crazy, but
yeah.
This next one could probably be another easy one. Bengals Chiefs. This is bad timing for the Bengals, to be honest.
Yeah, to come up
because they usually start slow, and to play the Chiefs week 2 is kind of rough. So I'm gonna go Chiefs
on more rest for the Chiefs.
Yeah,
they played Thursday. Yeah, I'll go Chiefs too.
Chiefs.
Bears Texans.
Caleb Williams. Not great.
Yeah, he did not look good. Man, he that one interview he had after the game, he was talking. He was like, "Yeah, stats aren't important. Who cares about stats?" And he was literally like, "Yeah, the stats aren't what I want them to be." I'm like, "But you just said stats don't matter."
Yeah, and I will say,
if
you look at the stats and you just see like the quarterback play across the league last week, not really that great. I mean,
it was
a lot of guys.
Great.
I think
even Mahomes was 1 for 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
Yeah.
So if he's doing that, good luck to everybody else.
I think that there might have been. I could be wrong. Again, amateurs. There was like 4 quarterbacks over 200 yards passing, which is wild, and a lot under 100.
Yeah. And ironically, Daniel Jones had 186. I don't even know how that happened. So we're all going Texans.
Yeah.
And then the last game on Monday is Falcons-Eagles.
Oh, Eagles.
Yeah.
Eagles. Yeah, I think that's not a ton of good games on this week. Honestly, I think the best one might be Patriots Seahawks.
No, I think Lions Bucks might be a better one because that's the rematch from the playoffs last year too.
Yeah, I mean, but everyone's expecting that to be a good game though.
Okay, sneaky good game then Patriots.
Yeah. I mean, no crap, Bucks. That's like saying Bills and Dolphins is gonna not be good. All right. Well, any last thoughts on the NFL? Any last?
I'm gonna relish the Pats being over 500 as long as I can.
I'm gonna relish in the fact that there's always next year.
There is, and hey, if it's not a bad draft for a quarterback either.
Yeah, no. So
keep that guys coming out.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm already hoping for.
Start scouting.
Yeah, Nick, got any last things on the NFL?
Yeah, I don't know. How do we feel about those games in Brazil? I'm thinking we don't really need any more.
No,
grow the game. They got to go worldwide because this is a worldwide sport. But
this is my take. Countries like Germany and England, they ate it up. They love it, and I think they have more fields adapted for the kind of players, or at least like the NFL. I think they're starting some campaign where they have like different countries playing football or whatever in like their own leagues or whatever. But if they can get some stadiums in those places, I'd say okay. But Brazil was crazy for so many reasons. One, the turf, but also the whole color green thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're putting players in because if you watch soccer, you know how crazy soccer can get. My old Spanish teacher was telling me because he used to live in Argentina. He was telling me how like refs would get like threats after the game and they'd get attacked after games. It's serious out there. So to put players in that kind of situation when it's not really needed, it doesn't make sense. And also you put the two teams that wear green in that situation. It didn't make any sense to me. You'd have tons of teams that aren't those colors. So if you want to send somebody there, okay, send two teams there. But then I'll double down saying you have enough money. If you want to have games in Brazil, you need to make a stadium. Doesn't have to be some huge thing, but you need to make a football-based stadium if you're going to have it there because the injuries are going to be too much. The travel is a lot for the guys. Because I heard a few players complaining about the flight and just the overall experience. That doesn't equate to good football to me.
Not to mention that they told them basically not to leave the hotels.
Yeah.
So what's the point of going to Brazil? Like, I don't know. Like,
where
silly.
In Germany, there's a little bit more stable and a little bit more fan base for it. And they love it there. I remember when they hosted a game last year, it was crazy. So I just think it depends on the country. Brazil, I'm probably out on. Germany, England, Australia is getting big into it now.
Yeah, there's a lot of Aussies in the league.
Yeah, I can see those countries keeping it. Nick, do you have any opinions on that?
Not really. I kind of emphasize what you said. I feel like if you're going to play football in another country like that, at least showcase the best of football and allow them to play in a stadium designated for football.
Right.
That's just kind of my take on that overall.
All right, and that's it for the NFL. And then we just got some NHL news. Just some quick light stuff. There's only two things I got written down. Nick, you might have more. I got one, Mark Stahl's retirement.
Yeah.
That's a career right there. I mean, he played for the Rangers. Probably one of the better defensemen for the Rangers for a long time, along with McDonough and whatnot. So good for him. And Jaromir Jagr, who I didn't even know still played. This man went out and said he wants to play every game for the Czech League. Dude, why do you need this? Like that he just wants to play in some random
grinder.
Czech. Yeah.
He's a grinder. He just loves puck, man.
He's gotta be like 52 years old.
Oh, he's probably definitely in his 50s. probably definitely. That's
Yeah,
can't go back and forth. That was silly. I'm gonna look it up.
he just
Nick,
loves the game.
Yeah, I
52.
respect.
He's 52.
Yeah, I respect it so much, but I'm like, holy, because like it's not like football where it's like, okay, you got 18 games. You're playing like 80 games
Yeah,
a season.
yeah,
You're
he's all in.
also and also going from like the NHL to like a lower Czech league, and it's just like that. If that's what you're willing to do, then good for you. But that's crazy to me. Nick, anything else happen in the NHL or hockey world?
Yeah, a couple of quick things I want to bring up, but first on that Mark Stahl retirement, that's crazy because there's 4 Stahl brothers. The fourth one we don't hear much about. His name's Jared because he only played 2 games. But now with Mark Stahl out of the league, we have 1 Stahl left, and that's Jordan Stahl in Carolina. So man, time's flying.
Yeah,
Crazy.
it's crazy because like I said McDonough and all those guys. That was all when I was in high school.
Yeah,
And now some of those guys are retiring, and that was the year with like Ryan Callahan and all that. And it's just like, what is going on?
yeah. And the other thing was the very tragic news about Johnny Gaudreau, which I don't want to talk too much about because it's very sensitive. But I thought it very heartwarming because speaking of Yager, Yager was the last guy to. No, Johnny Gaudreau had the primary assist on Yager's final goal in the NHL
Wow.
for the Flames. I was like, wow, that's pretty big right there. So Yager released a very heartfelt statement on the issue, and that's tough. I feel
that's
for the family.
That's a tough situation, especially when drinking and stuff is involved. But yeah, that's sad. I know Sidney Crybaby just said he's going to play as long as he can. I know I saw that. Man, he might be my most hated athlete, I think.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah. There's something about him, man. He has just one of those faces. He's got one of those faces. I can't think of another athlete. Yeah, no.
Yeah, but
Nick,
I don't have much else for the NHL there because we've got training camp starting up next week, so season's coming close.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
Yeah, we're already on week 3 of college football.
Nuts.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that just about does it. Any last comments or any last hot takes for the week coming up?
Go Pats, go Bucks. That's all I got to say. Buckeyes, not Buccaneers.
Yeah. Me and Justin are going to an ale house to watch some football on Sunday with friends. Mm-hmm. And I'll be doing a lot of college football watching. Army is off this week. So I get a little bit of relief, and I don't plan on watching the Giants on Sunday. So
probably best for you.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice, relaxing weekend. Nick, anything you got going on this weekend?
No big hot takes from me here. Once we get to NHL season, though, they're going to be flying.
Oh boy,
they're going to be coming.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up there. All right,
sounds good.
All right.
See everybody next week.
Later.